Hey guys, good evening. Sorry it took me a minute. I was just getting everything kind of set up, sending out the links. So tonight we're going to be drawing poison dart tree frogs, and we're going to use POSCA markers to color them. I'm going to be dual recording this tutorial so that I can time lapse it and offer a really condensed version of the workshop for people who aren't necessarily looking for a 2-hour live art workshop. So I hope you guys all had a good week. I hope you're healthy. I hope you are able to stay safe. Nashville is still under stay-at-home orders, which is kind of frankly all right by me because Louisiana lifted their stay-at-home orders and people are already deciding that masks are not important, but they are definitely important. So if you are in an area that is affected by COVID-19, I really encourage you guys to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands frequently, and when you go out, wear a mask. So it's really nice to be able to hang out with you guys this evening. It is 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, and there's nowhere I'd rather be right now than here, safe at home, about to make some art. If you are new to my live streams, hi, I'm Becca Hilburn. I do these live art workshops. Let me move that out of the way. I do these live art workshops once a week on Saturday nights, and we do all kinds of different art tutorials. So if there's something you're interested in learning how to do and you'd like to see it live here on the channel, you can let me know either in the comments below, or you can ask in my Discord server, the Paint Box, or you can send me an email, like however you're comfortable reaching out to me. I'll do my best to keep up with that. And I'm always open to suggestions and hearing what you guys want to learn how to do. And what I try to do on these Saturday night workshops is something a little bit different than what I normally offer on the channel. So usually on the channel, I do a lot of watercolor tutorials, I do a lot of art supply reviews, and I do a lot of comic tutorials. So these Saturday night hangouts are designed to help us make all kinds of different kinds of art. So for tonight's demonstration, I have a link to the materials in the description box. I have lost my train of thought. Anyway, for tonight's demonstration, you guys are going to want to work on some black paper. So I am going to be working on Strathmore black mixed media paper. I've used this with POSCA markers before. I did the mortar board for my brother's graduation cap. I did a custom Gundam in POSCA on black mixed media paper. You don't have to use black, obviously. You could if you wanted to, or depending on what you have available. You could use regular mixed media paper. You could use Bristol paper. We want to go with black because it's going to really make our opaque POSCA markers stand out a lot more. So POSCA markers, and I'll give you guys just a really quick demonstration of the materials. POSCA markers have been around. We've used them a few different times here on the channel. I don't use them all the time, not because I don't like them, but just because I just don't use them all the time. And they are available in a lot of different colors. I want to say like 30 something colors, and then there's also glittery ones. There's neons. I don't know why the camera's cutting off half my head because it wants to zoom in. That's X-Cam for you. There's glitter, there's neons, and then there's like kind of regular colors. So they come in different sizes and they come in different tips. They are basically paint markers. I believe they're a tempera paint. They are water safe for the most part once dry. You might want to seal them if you're doing them on something not paper. So this is some POSCA from a while back. When they dry, they layer really well. They don't necessarily tear up the paper as much as some other water-based, sorry about that, other water-based markers. They do have a tendency to do that, and when that happens, you take a paper towel and you fold it up small and you kind of dab it in just to soak up that excess. And then if you're doing it on black paper, for example, once it's dried, you can go over it with black POSCA if you need to. So I have a pretty wide selection of POSCA colors for us to kind of play around with this afternoon. As you can see, there's also some brush tip ones. I don't like the brush tip ones as much because I find the ink flow doesn't keep up as well as the pump style ones, and they're just not as easy as you would think they would be to use because they do have flow issues. So I try not to use those too much. But they also come in like really fine liners. They come in much larger than what I have here, but I don't own any of those because I just can't see myself using them too often. They'd be great for like signboards or murals or covering larger areas. For this tutorial, you don't have to use POSCAs. You can, Arteza makes like, let me try to fix that because it's a little weird. Oh, it's even worse. I want to angle it up so it's stuck. Xcam, stop it. Arteza makes paint pins, Liquitex makes Liquitex pins. Basically any like acrylic markers, maybe even some chalk markers would work for this, but I'm gonna be using POSCA because I've used them pretty frequently in the past. I'm pretty comfortable with them. Something else we're going to be using today is we're going to be using colored leads. You can use color pencil for this. You can use Cold Erase color pencils for this if that's what you have, if that's what you want to use. You could probably even use Crayola. I'm going to be using the Color Eno mechanical pencil color leads, and part of this is because they show up really well on camera, so you guys will be able to see what I'm doing. Technically, you could do this with graphite, with like just any color graphite really, because you're going to be able to see it because the reflection is going to be visible to you, but the camera doesn't pick up on that so well. So I'm not really, I would rather you guys be able to see it. So I'm going to use some colored leads for this. And I think that kind of covers our materials. Mixed media paper is a heavier kind of paper. It's heavier than cardstock. For those of you who've used Bristol, it's like Bristol. It's an all-rounder in that it can take a lot of different media, but it doesn't mean it takes a lot of different media well. But it's good for POSCA markers. POSCA likes mixed media paper pretty well. And in the past, I tested POSCA markers out on the Stonehenge Aqua Black watercolor paper, and I found that POSCAs kind of chew that up. So a couple weeks ago, we did a watercolor tutorial where we used the Stonehenge Aqua Black paper to, let me see if I have them handy, I can show you guys, to paint some betta fish using metallic paints. So, I'll sit so my camera doesn't mess up. So we use mostly like Fine Tech and the Stonehenge Aqua, and the post recording of that is live. So if you guys want to check that out, you can check that out as well. So I am manning the chat by myself this evening. Hey Nisa, hey B, hey Tanner, and hi Allie, how are y'all? I hope, that's weird. So Tanner says Allie had to send him the link because the stream isn't showing up in his YouTube. And I'm not surprised to hear that because Joseph pointed out last week that the stream wasn't sending out notifications like it's supposed to be doing. So I changed my channel over from kid only to not kid only. Because, I mean, honestly, I've talked about this before, but there was a lot about being a kid-friendly channel that really worked to punish me, like the lack of search for people who are viewing my channel, the inability to watch the videos in like a little, you know how they would do like the sub boxes while you search for other things? Apparently a lot of people like to watch my videos while they're queuing up other videos to watch, so that was kind of hurting my channel a lot. It's showing up as unlisted. Thank you for letting me know. That is annoying. Because like when I started, there was like nobody in. And I was like, that's weird. Usually you guys are in here by now. So I'm gonna take a second to try and fix that. Aha, I see it now. That's really annoying. Thank you guys so much for letting me know though. I appreciate the heads up. So now it's listed, so hopefully that won't be so much a problem anymore, but I appreciate you guys letting me know. So I have the reference I want to use for tonight's demonstration in the description. I'm also going to put it up on the screen so that it's visible for you guys. I wanted to do poison dart frogs today because I love poison dart frogs. When I was a kid, poison dart frogs are the reason I wanted to be a herpetologist. I wanted to work for National Geographic as a journalist, and I wanted to go live in the Amazon and study poison dart frogs. So I was super obsessed with them as a teenager, and for some reason, anime pretty boy names stick in my head, but the names of the frogs do not, and quite frankly, I think the frogs would be more valuable information at this point in time than the anime Bishonen, but you know, brain do what brain gonna do. Aw, thank you guys. I don't know why it was unlisted, but it's fixed, and that's going to be something I always look out for in the future. So, I apologize if I'm a little bit out of it. I had a headache earlier today, and I've been consuming copious amounts of coffee trying to get my energy level back up. I promise it's not a COVID headache, it's an allergy headache. But that's just how it goes. So one of the first things I want to do is I don't think I really want to work this large. This is a 11 by 14 pad, and then let me move my fish. This little sample pad here is 4 by 6, and that's smaller than I want. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down to a more manageable size. And I have a paper cutter for that because I cut a lot of paper. But you guys you don't need a paper cutter. You don't have to use a paper cutter. You can use a pair of scissors if you really want to. You can also use an X-Acto blade on a cutting mat. And Bowie says hi, but he does not want to show his face on camera. Maybe I can lure him over. That's weird. Tanner, have Allie send it to me on I don't have Discord up right now. I usually turn it off so it's one less thing triggering my ADHD. Or she can send it to Joseph because he just got on his computer. She can send it to him on Discord. I'm gonna grab that paper cutter. Gently place the lavalier mic down. And I'm not really going for a specific size with this. I just want to this is a lot of space to fill, and I want to do something a little bit more manageable in terms of space. And I always save my scraps because, I don't know, sometimes you can use scraps to make something else really cool, so I always hold on to my scraps. Kind of gonna aim for like 8 by 10 with this. So what have you guys been up to this week? It has been a pretty chill week this week for me. Let me make sure that looks good on OBS. That looks tolerable on OBS. I'm a ghost now. Woo. I'm going to try to get these POSCAs out of the way so I have more room to draw. And I'm going to start putting our frog reference up. So I should actually pause that. And I'm sure somebody's going to comment that not all of these frogs live in the same environment. And that is true, but I kind of don't care. I just want to draw a bunch of pretty frogs together. I do what I want. let's have them decorate the sides of the stream. Oh, I could have had it as an image slideshow. So this week I had my first Zoom class, or rather it was the first class I taught using Zoom, and it was for the St. Charles Parish Public Library, and I think it went really well. It was aimed at kids, so that kind of having that kind of limited audience can be really beneficial, and we thankfully didn't have any weird problems, which I've been told happens a lot with Zoom, so I'm grateful for that. And we're talking about doing more classes, so I'm really looking forward to that. They're talking about wanting to do classes where you pick up the art supplies, like curbside pickup. So the art supplies would be provided and you do it along at home. And I think that's a really cool idea. I mean, I'm biased, it's work for me, like paying work for me, but I also think it's a cool idea because that's something I would have really liked as a kid and as a teenager. And it also means, like, even if the library is open to the public, I think they should offer one or two of these kind of classes, because you have a lot of kids who their parents work, so they don't have any transportation, or they're not allowed to go to the library by themselves, or the library is kind of far away from where they live, because St. Charles Parish, there we go, I love the frogs! St. Charles Parish is kind of spread out, so it could be a 10-minute drive plus to get to your local library, or your branch of the library might not offer any kind of programming. Like the Hahnville branch doesn't offer any kind of programming for kids. So I am really excited about it. I think it's a really good idea. So basically, I'm just gonna draw a bunch of tree frogs sitting on bromeliad leaves. I'm missing a frog. Where's the frog? Oh well, maybe I won't do it like that. I was gonna do it like a slideshow, but maybe I won't do it like that. And the more I do streams, the more I'm like, maybe I need an extra monitor. Joseph's probably in the background like, no, she does not. Why did that happen to me? Is it that ugly? It does look like a GeoCities page. Becky Hilburn's frog fan site. Ooh, nice. Animal Crossing and a big desk. It's like a red letter week, because you'll be making lots of art and you'll be crossing all the animals. I love poison dart tree frogs, so I probably have. So I'm just kind of loosely sketching in some bromeliad-esque leaves. I'm being real lazy with the leaves. I really should reference the leaves, but you know.
How are you going to handle the translucent look without translucent media?
Oh, you're talking about the white up there? You can thin down.
It's just translucent.
Not, well, they can't see, so I'll gesture in the opposite direction. So with that blue frog, for example, you have this white sheen, but it's not like a strong white sheen. It's like a translucent white sheen. So what you can do with POSCAs is you can apply them to like a non-porous surface, and you can add some water and use that. Ooh, he's so far away. I mean, maybe what I should have just done is, instead of even drawing any kind of a background, just drawing a bunch of pinups of frogs. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It seems like, because I like tried to prepare my desk about an hour before I started streaming, and it seems like I'm spending all my time grabbing things. I don't even know if I want to do leaves now that I think about it. Huh. Okay. I'm the 5th artist that you're subbed to that went live this week. Well, I've been trying to do more live streams since people are kind of stuck at home. But even before COVID, I used to do live streams, and I quit doing as many of them because I was teaching outside the house, and that just required so much time and prep that I felt like that was more important that I focus on. So I had to pull away from doing the live streams. But it's nice to get back to doing them again. I kind of missed the social interaction. And I usually do, so I used to do these power hour streams on Friday nights, but it seems like Saturday nights work a little bit better for people, so I switched my evening. Okay, so I'm just kind of lightly sketching in. My frog using the non-photo blue. And the thing is, a good silhouette right now is going to be more important than capturing the details, because we're going to be covering these up in POSCA anyway. I have been kind of thinking though about offering a more kid-centric live stream earlier in the day, not on Saturdays, but like maybe on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and then having the power hour live stream on Saturday nights. And part of that is, quite frankly, like 8 o'clock is starting to get a little bit late for me. Hey, good evening. I think the challenge for me is I try to do work during the day, and then by 8 o'clock, I'm a little bit spent from, trying to get work done. So I may be able to deliver a better stream for you guys if I'm either streaming earlier in the evening, or if, I guess I could just take Saturdays off, but then I would get nothing done. Sure, why not? Or honestly, I think maybe the way I'm approaching this is I see it as a social activity. So it's not just a social activity for me, but it's also giving other people a chance to socialize a bit more. And then with what I'm doing here, I'm trying to do like bite-sized workshops, so start to finish art projects. So maybe some of the other artists are thinking about it that way. I think some of them, they aren't able to kind of go out and see the people they used to be able to go out and hang out with. Like, I definitely miss getting to hang out with Allie and Tanner. I would have been really nice this week, actually. I had kind of a crummy week earlier on, and just being able to, like, hang out and kind of vent a little bit would have been really nice. That's not y'all's fault. Obviously, it's not y'all's fault. I mean, we have COVID we're dealing with. It's just an unfortunate part of what's going on right now. So I'm going to draw another one of these frogs. I think I'm going to go with this one. The yellow and turquoise one. Well, honestly, I don't like hanging out with people in Animal Crossing because the chat feature is really annoying for me. I hate it. So I have been like, oh, it's an ugly frog. I've been not really hanging out with people in Animal Crossing either. You know, it must just be kismet. What I meant is like I missed hanging out in person. I had a family member say something really nasty to me this week, and okay, I'm not liking any of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside and start again. I had a family member say something really ugly to me this week, and it just was really, really, really triggering my depression. So what I needed most was not to like make more art or do more art or do more work, but to like actually get out of that headspace. Yeah, really. AC chat. And then you see on, I forgot how to draw. The problem is I've had a headache all day and I'm talking and not thinking. Huh? I said I forgot to draw.
It sounded like forgot.
No, I said frogot. I just said it so slick. All right. This Icarus was aiming too far for the sun. So we're gonna approach these frogs on a very different playing field. We're gonna do it one frog at a time because I am just not having a good drawing day, and that's okay. That happens. I like that it always seems to happen when I want to stream, but it happens.
Did you warm up today?
Huh? Yes, I did. I did. It's just honestly the headache. Sorry about that. Honestly, the headache just has made everything more difficult for me. So I appreciate y'all's patience. And red's not so bad if you know a little art history and you know what you're looking for and you cheat a little bit. I mean, he's cheating you. You might as well cheat him. I'm going to actually stand so I can get a better angle on this. This is not what I had in mind. I really wanted to pose them all on leaves. But that's okay. I've drawn so many frogs in my life. I don't know why I struggle to draw them. Yeah, it really kind of ruined my week. I appreciate that. If I do it bigger like this, though, it may make it easier to use the POSCA markers. Man, when COVID is over, I'm going to go see a neurologist. I know it's allergy related, but it really has been affecting my life in a negative way. But you know, something I like about these streams, and this is the truth, is you guys can see me fail and mess up and start over again. And while it's a little embarrassing for me, and sometimes it makes me feel like I come across as like a fraud, when I'm teaching, a lot of younger people they don't really understand because they've grown up learning from YouTube, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful resource, but they don't understand that like all their favorite artists make mistakes and have to redraw things, and some of them don't understand that drawing takes a while because everything is time-lapse so much and people don't always disclose it. And that comes up a lot when I'm teaching. So, you know, even if I'm just leading by failure example, it's still hopefully helping people out. Oh my gosh. The puns. You're as bad as the people who do the puns for AC. No, but what I should have done, Joseph, if I'd wanted this to go perfectly, is I should have spent this afternoon drawing all the frogs first, but I wanted to draw them live for you guys. So with some of these workshops, I'll prepare a line art in advance. Like for next week, I want to do a mermaid to celebrate Mermay, and I want to do that with alcohol markers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a line art during the week and then share it on Gumroad and on Patreon. Oh my goodness. So people can print it out and work along and not have to focus on the drawing aspect. But sometimes it's also nice to draw things together. So I try to do a mix of both. Oh, that leggy. That frogum leggy. Oh, the sea bass pun. It's at least a C plus, and it's like, oh, I was like really grousing about it to Joseph the other night, and I said it wouldn't be so bad if they like change them out seasonally, but if I have to have a year of the C plus pun, I'm done. Like they are dad level puns, and I didn't grow up with a dad who was super punny. I don't have a natural immunity.
You ever notice frogs always look attentive?
I love frogs. They're so cute.
Like, what is it about them that makes
It's
it look
those
like
big
they're paying
eyes.
attention?
They probably are, is the truth. They have to. They're so small and fragile.
Like, people don't think slugs are paying attention. You know what I mean?
Well, also frogs have these big eyes.
Do slugs not?
No. You could. You could do mermaids. Or catfish. I did mermaid, not last year, but the year before. It just kind of falls at like a weird time because I'm usually preparing for World Watercolor Month from May to June. So I don't get a chance to do too many. And I'm just gonna get rid of some of my excess lines. And then I'm gonna summon, where are you? Give me one sec, guys. There it is. Ugh. On the floor. Ta-dun. Oh, I don't know. I think it's because I'm a nihilistic person a little bit, so the C minus would have been funnier to me. Also because I'm so tired of catching sea bass. Okay, so I am ready to start adding some colors. So what I want to do is I want to try and get my colors pretty close. I don't think they're going to be perfect, but that's okay because we're using POSCAs, you know, it's not perfection. So I'm grabbing a few different blues. I also have a metallic blue, which, oh, it's so tempting to use it, but I don't have enough to go around, like enough metallic to go around. So I'm gonna kind of avoid that. And grab, ooh, actually I have a pastel blue, but I think this one's gonna work a little bit better. Also grab some white. Too many POSCAs, it makes it a little bit of a challenge to draw. Just not quite enough room. Sorry. Checking the speed recording. Okay, so now I'm going to swatch them and see what we got. They seem like pretty genuine people. So what I'm noticing is that it's going to get dark pretty quick. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And the the metallic wants to be funny. Let's put that aside. Let's move that back over. Let's get everything where folks can see it. That. Oh boy, that's definitely a pun. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to start kind of marking in the markings, so I'm not going in blind. Joseph, what's your worst pun?
I don't
Give me.
All puns are situational.
Oh,
I don't ever
Joseph's a pantser. He doesn't memorize puns. He doesn't have them locked and loaded and ready for the situation. He just throws them out there. And if they land, they land. And if they don't, he'll ask me if I heard him. Like with the frog. But I do that to him, so I'm a fine one. I'll say some really terrible puns and then be like, did you hear it?
I don't know if I've ever repeated a pun a second time.
You did with the frog. You were like, did you see the frog pun?
I said you didn't pronounce it right.
Forgot it. Forgot about it. I want to do the leaf also. We'll see if I regret the leaf, because that's a lot of green. But it also will help define what's going on in the background. I'm just curmudgeonly. I'm glad you guys like puns. I don't not like puns. I just am. It's okay. It's like children. I actually really like kids, but I tell people I don't so that they will stop assuming I will babysit their children for free. And with puns, if people find out I like puns, they will inundate me with puns. I was on a Discord server. It was Ink Drop Cafe, And we had some people who love puns a lot, and they would just, too many puns all the time, nonstop. And puns are not funny if, okay, well, they can loop over into funny again, but they're generally not funny if you've just had like 16 puns and you've kind of overwhelmed the audience and they're saturated. I think puns are funniest when they're kind of like a sneak attack, or when they're so bad they're good. And unfortunately, because we rewarded people for puns of any quality, conversations would get completely derailed. Like important conversations would get completely derailed by somebody who had to be the punster at that moment in time. So I think I'm just biased by bad situation. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing kind of a fill. So when I'm using POSCAs, a lot of what I'm doing, I'm basically planning on using at least 2 layers, and I'm basically just starting out with a fill to kind of create my base coat, and then I'm going to go back in later on and add details and add nuance. And you can blend with POSCAs. I haven't decided if I want to do that too much in this workshop, just because when I'm blending with POSCAs, I like to work on a surface that has kind of a plasticized coating. So like those little acrylic mini canvases, and I actually have a bunch of them from Dollar Tree that I can use in an upcoming workshop. But those work really, really well. Joseph has a Amaterasu mini painting I did. It's at $25.25, unfortunately, and it was on one of those mini canvases, and it blended really well. So one of the things I really like about POSCAs is they're very flexible in terms of like what they're actually willing to mark on. Now, whether or not it'll stay is a whole nother problem. I was trying to think of a pun and I couldn't. Are you laughing at? I really was. We were talking about puns.
Yeah.
And if there was like a good one, I'll take it. But I'm not going to force a pun. Oh my gosh. I think that might require a level of patience that frogs might not have. I see there is much punnage going on in the chat, so I'll just slowly crab scuttle back to drawing. Hey Tally, good evening. See, I know I'm going to have to give this another coat because even though we do have some opaque color, it's not as opaque as I would like. Now, since these are probably water-based, they're not alcohol-based, and they're not going to react with your alcohol markers. But POSCA does not respond to inquiries about what these actually are made of. So
Did you say inquiries?
I did at first, and then I corrected myself because it was an unintentional pun. Beep, 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 beep. I also want to give a big thank you shout out to Joseph. He wasn't feeling well this afternoon either, and he wasn't gonna sit and help with the stream, but he changed his mind, and I really do appreciate it. Because honestly, sometimes I feel a little bit ridiculous sitting in here talking to the screen. I know that's on me, like I am talking to people. There are people on the other side of the screen, but you know, having the company makes me feel a little bit less like I'm talking to myself. So I think I am going to do the leaf. I do have a couple of neon yellows that could make for a really cool base coat on the leaf. So with POSCAs, they do have a decent color gamut, but it's not perfect. You know what I mean? It's not like, no, they will not. I mean, that's not surprising. Prismacolor / Newell Rubbermaid doesn't respond either. In fact, a lot of art supply companies don't respond. So I can only go with my best guesses. Yes, and then I'm going to use one of the darker blues on the leaf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by blocking in with the fluorescent.
Which frog's your favorite frog?
Probably, well, actually, it's not this one, but it's one that looks a lot like it. It's very dark blue, like a royal blue, and it has like lots of little spots on it, and it was my favorite because my grandmother gave me, so when I was a kid, like I said, I was really obsessed with poison dart tree frogs, and I had a collection of figurines of them, and they were kind of expensive. You could get them at the Discovery store or the Nature store, and they were kind of pricey. And the first one I ever got was this really nice dark blue one, and I got her in 3rd grade, and I would carry her everywhere with me in my pocket. So she was my favorite. I forgot what I named her. It was obviously not the scientific name. Otherwise, I would know the names of the frogs. Speaking of good laugh, we've been watching JoJo's, and it definitely gets a reaction out of my own JoJo.
Pretty wild.
Can you imagine reading 10 years of JoJo's?
If I started when I was young, yes.
So I'm leaving this area under the frog black for right now because that's the cast shadow on the reference. And you don't have to follow the reference 100% if you don't want to. I was definitely struggling this evening with translating what I saw in my head with what my hands were willing to do. So I'm going to work from the reference and just kind of focus on, you know, spending more time with POSCAs and learning some new tricks with them. And you want to be a little bit careful with these because I don't know if you guys can see it, but they do have a tendency to tear up the paper if you scrub back and forth, which is why I'm going in one motion or in one direction with these. And you also want to give the paper a chance to dry a little bit between layers so that the POSCA doesn't tear up the paper as much. I mean, unlike with like water-based markers, like Crayola markers, it doesn't matter so much if the paper gets kind of chewed up. That was probably one I drew when I was in elementary school. It's the green tree frog.
Yeah.
Yep, that was elementary.
Okay, I thought it was high school.
No, I know it's pretty good, huh? Would you believe I couldn't test into talented art? I guess I just don't see the world the way artists do.
Years later, and you still can't draw frogs.
20 years later and I still struggle. You know, I don't draw them. I love frogs and I don't draw them enough. And that's why I struggle, because I don't do it enough. The more, oh, you turned yourself off. The more you do something, the easier it gets, the better you get at it. And I just didn't put enough time in as an adult. He was wrong. Well, you know, Joseph knows a lot about me, but he doesn't necessarily know every single thing. I know a lot about him, and I don't necessarily know every single thing. We're doing okay, though. We're taking a marriage preparedness class, and we're doing all right. Supposedly, we're a harmonious couple, which, you know, I'm pleased to hear that, but I was surprised. I don't think of myself as harmonious, is probably why. Joseph's very harmonious, but I'm very like a small, yappy dog. So I know this looks like a mess, but it is just a base coat, and we're going to cover it up later on. Oh, that's fair. I understand where you're coming from with that. Yeah, so with that, I was drawing a lot of frogs in elementary school, and I tested for talented art and I didn't make it, and it kind of killed my desire to draw for a little while, because it was like, oh, I guess I'm not very good at drawing. So I just kind of quit until I started reading comics, and then I was like, no, this is what I want to do, and then I hurled myself into the sun, basically. I'd be like a giant African bullfrog or a very tiny Lilliputian. So I'm waiting on this to dry, partially because I know my hand's going to rest on it. Bowie, you want to come say hi? Come say hi. Hey, you. Yeah. He's gray, and virtual cam does not like gray of gray. I mean cam, sorry. Yeah, it's Bowie. He is not, he doesn't like the camera a whole lot, so I don't force it. I know some people's cats seem to, there you go, seem to like being on camera, or they like the attention, but he likes attention. He just doesn't want to be on camera. I was in regular art, but the problem with regular art was it was an elective, and you could get bumped if you were taking band because they needed the time slot, or if you were in gifted because they needed the time slot. Basically, they treated art, if you weren't in talented art, they treated art like it was disposable, which adult me has a big problem with. But yeah, I think art classes should be mandatory for anyone. Certainly, like, the first couple art classes should be mandatory, because I think those are skills that people benefit from having. The ability to communicate visually is pretty awesome. It gives you a different tool set, and it gives you a different way of seeing the world and communicating with others. And often, even if you don't know the language, if you can find a way to visually communicate with people, you can get your point across. Yeah, it is. The cat is more important than the face. Ah! Okay, so we have another one of those bloopers. It's actually not that big a deal. Use a paper towel and just use it to dab up the excess paint. You can leave the paint on, or you can use a paintbrush to kind of distribute the paint a little bit better if you want to. It's up to you. I don't like leaving the paint pooled because that becomes an area that takes a lot longer to dry. And that tends to happen when the POSCAs are starting to run kind of low, or if there's like a significant environmental change. So like if the barometric pressure outside is high, like if it's going to rain, they're more prone to just kind of leaking. Or if you flew with them, the atmospheric pressure can kind of greatly affect how they handle. Right now he's playing with his Robo toy in the background, so it's like a fake mouse toy that he really likes. I mean, we've always socialized Bowie to be very playful, so he's kind of like, I mean, he's a male cat and he's like a dog light, you know. He likes to go for walks. He loves attention from strangers. He likes to treat, like he will do tricks for treats. And I kind of think any cat can be trained to do that if you start them off early enough. When we first got Bowie, socializing him was really important to me. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily specifically a cat person. I happen to really like dogs as well. Yeah, I'm having a lot of blobs. It wants to die on me, which is perfect timing because it's not like I can go to an art supply store and get a replacement, and it's hard to find these open stock online. But that's okay. I actually have used this. I've had this one for like 3 years now, and I've used it a lot, and I'm impressed. That's something I'll give POSCA. I am impressed that they last as long as they do. I'm impressed that they hold as much ink as they hold. I'm impressed that they don't just dry up and die, and then you have to spend some of them are kind of expensive. Like the brush ones are like $10 a pop at Jerry's Artorama, so some of them are pretty pricey. I think the normal ones are like $4 a pop. Very expensive still. Another problem is if it blobs on you and you get too thick a layer, or you do too many layers, it can start to crack. Or if you do it on like an organic surface, like you can use POSCA on a leaf or rocks or on a pumpkin, like I did on my Halloween stream. We did a couple pumpkins, and as the pumpkins aged and they kind of started losing their moisture, the POSCA started to crack, which is fine. I mean, it was a good hint that maybe it was time to throw away the mini pumpkins. So you can see the second layer gives us a lot more coverage. And I'm just standing up to check the time on my phone since I'm dual recording. I'll go ahead and do a second layer on the background leaf. So we've got a lot of artists in here tonight. I'm kind of curious, where is your favorite place to share your art? That's true. It could have been much worse. I mean, DeviantArt used to be like the de facto place, the place people would automatically say, oh, I share my art on DA. And it's very interesting to me because every other year people are like, oh, DA is dying, no point in sharing art on DA, blah, 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 complain about DeviantArt. And yet it still continues to exist and people still continue to use it. I never really got into sharing my art or using DeviantArt a whole lot, so I don't necessarily have like a strong opinion on it either way. I share my work on ArtStation, so I have an ArtStation portfolio, and I like ArtStation a lot because it really allows for a lot of flexibility in terms of organizing how your art is perceived, and you can also upload videos, and they have tutorial categories. So I feel like ArtStation really offers a lot that I like. But I also update I have an Instagram, and I like Instagram all right. My big bummer is ever since I started following some popular artists, I don't get to see any of the art from my friends or from smaller, less popular artists who I really like. So I'm not, and it's not like those artists are updating less. It's like Instagram has decided I don't need to see their work, which is really frustrating because they're the people I really care the most about seeing their work, you know, like they're either my friends or we're in the same kind of situation, so I want to cheer them on. But I still update Instagram, and I also regularly share art on Twitter, even though I would not if you were new to sharing art, I would not recommend Twitter for that. It's just, I've used Twitter for over 10 years, so you know, I'm ensconced there, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that's always been my big problem with DeviantArt, is it's such a process to post. And that's honestly one of my complaints about ArtStation, is that it takes a while, but at least it doesn't take as long as DeviantArt does. Also, the size restrictions are annoying as all get out. Hey Calvin, good evening. See, I set my Instagram to auto post to my Tumblr, although I do check Tumblr not infrequently. So that way I don't have to like remember to post to both. And I set it to post to Facebook. Okay, so that's gonna take a little bit of time to dry. I have been thinking about doing TikTok. Multicolor liners, wondering what's a good cheap liner. It kind of depends on what your idea of cheap is. So Sharpie makes, let me pause this because this is drawing anyway. It's paused itself. That's perfect. Awesome. Thank you, phone. Sharpie makes colored liners and black liners. They're okay. I believe they're alcohol marker proof and waterproof once they've had a chance to dry. And you can get them like anywhere. You can get them at Walmart. I'm a big fan, honestly, I used to be a big fan of multi-liners, but multi-liners are more expensive and they're great, but you can't find them everywhere. Whereas microns, you can find microns just about anywhere. And I'm not a fan of the brush microns, frankly, but they look like this, right? And I use the calligraphy microns to do borders on my comic pages, and I use the 8, the 5, and the 2 if I'm doing like inorganic lines, like on a building. But my personal favorite daily driver, like use it all the time, fine liner, is the Sakura Pigma FB, and it's really not a fine liner, it's a brush pen, but it's a really fine brush pen. and it's made by the same company that makes microns. You can find them almost anywhere. In fact, I saw some, I want to say, at Walmart recently. So they are pretty common. They're alcohol marker proof and they're waterproof, so I really like them. And then also Tombow makes the Furenosuke, and these are also not technically fine liners, they're still brush pens. They come in a bunch of different colors. So far my testing has shown that they are alcohol marker proof and waterproof, so that's always like a big win for me. They're a little bit stiffer than the FBs, so you're not going to get, when you bear down, when you put pressure down on your line, you're not going to get as thick a line. But they're really great. They're easy to handle. And I saw these at Walmart, and I have a photo of it on my Twitter as proof. So you can get these almost anywhere. And I really like those as well. But I want to say Papermate Flare. Some people like to use Papermate Flare to fine line because they come in a bunch of different colors. And they have, they don't have like the metal style felt tip. They have kind of like a rubber style felt tip, so if you're heavy-handed and you're really prone to ruining your fine liners, the flares could be a good option for you. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. That takes me a second. Calvin says DA is much better now. I could believe that, because I feel like it had kind of like a heyday, and then all of those people who came just for that have left, and now it's more established artists who have been there for a longer period of time. However, one of the and I'm not necessarily concerned about this for myself, but I hear it from a lot of younger artists or artists who are newer to art, is that DA is savage when it comes to unsolicited critiques in the comments. And I like being able to curate whether or not I'm accepting critiques. I'm actually not one of those artists who thinks you should be open to critique at any time, because sometimes people will use you as a punching bag for their bad day. And as an artist, you deserve to be able to decide when you're receptive to that kind of information. But that could also vary. Like DA has a bunch of different types of circles. Like photography, but even within photography, you have different types of photography, and all of those kind of run in their own circles. And every circle kind of has its own way of treating each other. So I will say, because my art looks more anime inspired, I would probably be up on the chopping block, because I know a lot of people with anime inspired art who have gotten really harsh critiques. That's not like why I don't use DA. It's for the same reason B said. It just takes a really long time to update, and then I forget that I have it. And I never invested that time into building a DA community for myself, so there's just nothing for me there. And let's see, Bite Size Crafter said, it's why I purposely go look for those artists. The thing is, I'm following them on Instagram, but I would have to remember to check their personal pages, and I do, but I don't remember as often, and I find it very counterintuitive when I'm checking Instagram that I have to like remember to go specifically look at people when I'm looking at my feed. Like, I feel like they designed the service to be a certain way, and then they just went and they did what they wanted with it, which it's their service, you know. But just be honest, like, hey, we're gonna promote really popular artists now because XYZ. Like, be very upfront with that, in my opinion. Prismacolor is good, but I wouldn't with alcohol markers, more for watercolor. Yeah, Prismacolor makes fine liners also. I have one right here. I don't like them at all. Not with watercolor, not with markers, because the colored ones will reactivate, but it's not every color will reactivate, and some are worse than others. So I'm not really a fan of these myself. I've had bad experiences with them. Le Pen are the same situation, though today I used them with my Copics, but I had to be very careful to prevent smudging. Le Pen is, so they make a pigment-based Le Pen, and then they make an alcohol-based Le Pen, and I think I actually have one of each. And then also, doggone it, Chameleon also makes fine liners, and since they fell, I'll grab them. So this would be, I want to say, this is a brush pen, but I want to say this is their pigment one. So this one should be okay with alcohol markers and watercolor because generally pigment plays nice. But I always advocate you test it yourself, and you test it on the paper you actually want to work on because different papers have different working properties. And then this is their permanent, but it's alcohol-based ink. So the black bodies are the alcohol-based ones and the white bodies are the pigment-based ones. And then Chameleon makes these color-changing fine liners, and I have a review of these here on the channel, and I haven't necessarily gotten around to doing like a full field test now. They're okay. They definitely have a gimmick. So the way these work is there's color in here, and then there's also color in here, and you can infuse this color into another pin body, kind of like the way the Chameleons work. And that way your pin color will change as you're using the pin. So theoretically, it's really cool. I just have a hard time controlling them, so I don't like them that much. Let's see. B said, went to Walmart, took a quick peek in the pin section. They have microns, jelly rolls, Tombow Fude pins, and a bunch of other artsy stuff. And that's going to vary based on your Walmart. So Walmart acquires stuff based on what the local population is buying. So the more art stuff you buy from Walmart, the more they're going to continue to buy art stuff for that Walmart. The Walmart I have the most experience with is a small town Walmart in Luling, Louisiana, and they put back the fabric section after they'd gotten rid of it because there was so much demand in that area for a fabric section. Let's see. Walmart pickup for some Sharpie colored multi-liners. Cool beans. For art community, I just go to wet canvas. I would never ever post comic pages to wet canvas. I would die before I would do that because I know they don't consider anime art or comic art to be real art. But it's cool that you do that, and I fully support that, and I think that's awesome. I'm just saying, like, I just like saw the Angel of Death pass by me and I was like, oh my gosh, that'd be like posting my art to 4chan. They would just eat me up. Walmart also sells micron now for $8 a pack of 3. Yep, I saw them at Walmart not that long ago. You can use Bic Market Ultra Fine Point markers. You can, but I would highly recommend you don't because they are not archival and they will eat through your paper eventually. Gelatos and gel crayons that I'm using to do abstract art with. That's cool. Probably tell a lot about a community based on what's in their Walmart. Yeah, you probably can. The Kenner Walmart has a big craft section. Look on Amazon for some colored microns. I think I got the writing ones. I don't know. I want 20 brands of hot dogs. And I think this has had a chance to dry. Aw, Bowie wants attention, but he doesn't want to earn his neutral by actually appearing on stream. He's still going to get it. He just won't have earned it. I would never deny my boy Neutro. He's my #1 boy. Oh, it actually dried really nice. Okay, so that is this one here. I'm gonna, after swatching, the swatch tells me this is actually gonna be a really good mid-transition tone. So I'm gonna slide on in with this, and like I said, you can blend these if you want. You apply it to a non-porous surface, you pick it up with a brush, and you kind of just paint it on, so it'd be like very thin acrylics. It does significantly add to the dry time, so I don't necessarily want to do that. No. And also when it comes to well, it depends on what you want to do with your art. So when I'm doing comic pages, if I'm going to have inked comic pages, I ink them first and then I watercolor them because the ink is kind of the guideline. I mean, I also do comic pages where I pencil and then I paint. but you can really kind of go whichever way you want to go. That's one of the really beautiful things when you move away from fine art and you focus more on art for... So I've mentioned this before. I had a friend in undergrad who gave me the best advice in my life. And it was basically, don't be so focused on the process, be more focused on how you can achieve what you're looking to achieve. And don't be so focused on doing things the quote unquote legitimate way unless it actually affects the sale quality of the end product. Focus more on using the materials however you need to use the materials in order to achieve what you're looking for. Best advice.
Isn't that what a lot of online art educators will say? Like, do it this way.
Well,
this is the best way.
A lot of them say do it this way, this is the best way, for one of three reasons. That was how they were taught when they went to school or when they took classes, and they've never tried it any other way, and they're a little afraid to experiment because they're a little afraid to mess up on camera. Because they are sponsored by that company and that's what the company wants, and they have kind of a contractual obligation to present the materials in that way, or because that's the way everyone's doing it and they haven't really experimented outside of it. And there are certain things that do work better with a particular application. But it doesn't mean there's not going to be some artist who finds a way to completely flip the script. I think if you're learning a new skill, just like when I'm learning a new way of cooking something, I'll always follow the recipe first, exactly, and then every other time I cook it, I'll adjust it and tweak it to suit my needs. So basically, it's helpful to learn the rules before you can break the rules.
Breaking the rules to the point where it's no longer the thing that you're calling it anymore?
Are you talking about digital watercolor? I wish they would say it was digital watercolor.
I was thinking of calligraphy. People misuse it.
Oh, sure, they call it brush. You know what? That's like a kettle of fish I'm not touching because that's not my community and I do not want them coming after me. That's like fountain pen people. I like to be on good terms with fountain pen people and calligraphy people, and I have no opinions whatsoever.
Encourage people
to try new things,
to do what they want with the materials, but you should also encourage people to not mislabel.
You know, I really hate when things are mislabeled. Part of that is the ADHD in me because I find it very deceptive and confusing, and obviously other people don't necessarily have that problem, so I acknowledge that could just be a Beckett Hilburn thing. So like I'm hesitant to give an opinion because I know some of how I feel is colored by the fact that I don't like being confused when I'm watching YouTube videos, and I don't like being confused when I'm buying products, and I don't like being confused when I'm talking to other artists at shows. So how's that for like a not answer? I'm going to get caught up a little bit with the chat in a second. I'm going to finish the frog. I mean, you know, like, I'm a comic artist, and I went to school twice for art. So, like, I have, like, mixed feelings about these things, if that makes sense, because I really want art to be accessible for everyone. But I also think there's a lot of benefit in being able to take in-person art classes. Maybe not art school, but physical in-person art classes. But also art is very personal and everyone has their own method for doing things. And frankly, if it works for you and it doesn't deteriorate in 5 years, or if you know it's going to deteriorate in 5 years and you're honest with your customer that it's going to deteriorate in 5 years, I'm cool with you. Like, making money as an artist is dang hard. Making money on YouTube as an artist is dang hard. I'm not as long as you're honest with your customer and you're honest with yourself, I don't care what your hustle is.
I think you're a little bit aspirational with the number of frogs. It's been
Shut up!
An hour and a half.
Shut up! I had to, that is the story of my life. Have you not noticed that?
I'm mostly telling you that. So you
No,
can
I think I'm just going to do the one frog. And then I may do follow-up videos, not as a live stream, where I do some other frogs. There's nothing wrong with using the chisel nib of a marker. I'm a big fan of the brush pen or the brush tip personally, but it's all personal preference. And if the chisel nib gives you what you want, use it. Do it. It's all about finding what works for you and what makes you happy. As fountain pen people, I feel that. I'm fountain pen people too, but like FPN, oh boy, some of those boards, they get very like, and also some of the comments I've gotten on some of my fountain pen videos that are not, I was never trying to like bait people, but I was trying to do different things and new things and take risks. And I was using pens that if I destroyed them, I didn't care. And some of the comments I'd get about how stupid I am for trying to use liquid watercolor in fountain pens was just like, okay, I mean, I know it's not fountain pen ink, but have you ever used your imagination ever? I do not participate in the community, but I like talking to B, and I like talking to Kabocha because we are similar fountain pen kind of people. Hello, fellow ADHD friend. So, like with alcohol markers, right? Alcohol markers, so theoretically, alcohol markers do not have any sort of light fastness. They're probably going to fade in 5 years. I've been using alcohol markers for about 10 years now.
Do they fade at different rates?
Yes, they do. Neons are first. Neons go quick. And I have pieces up on my wall done by myself, done by other people that were done in alcohol markers. And some have faded, some have not. As the customer, when I was buying it, I knew that was a possibility because I use alcohol markers. And I'm okay with that because I got the amount of enjoyment that I paid for. I mean, I paid for some of these pieces, I paid like 20 bucks, you know? I definitely got 20 bucks of enjoyment out of them. So I'm okay with pieces, like, especially when it comes to like anime art or fandom art, I'm okay with pieces that I don't pay more than $50 for fading after 5 years. That's me personally though. That's me understanding that that is something that can happen with alcohol markers. That is, there's like, to me, there's something a little bit beautiful about the ephemeral nature of it. Now, if you want your alcohol marker art to, I'm waiting on that to dry, but I can start working on the leaf. If you want your alcohol marker art to last longer, you can put it in UV bags and it'll last a lot longer. You can put it not in direct light sources, not in direct sunlight. You can put it behind UV glass and that'll protect it, or you can keep it in a portfolio and that'll protect it. It's it being out and in direct sunlight that tends to be a problem. But I agree with Calvin. Like, I don't necessarily want the art I did to last that long after I die because I am a bitter person and I do not want to be Van Gogh. Love me now while I can enjoy it. I know how big-headed that sounded. Oh no, I used to clean them all the time, and I've always been able to salvage fountain pens. But like, those were pens I purchased, and to have people get up in my comments and be mad about me ruining Pilot Petite Ones and Pilot Preppies was just like, y'all, those are $3 pens. Why do you care? Because there's like, YouTube is full of fountain pen videos by people who are fountain pen experts. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need another fountain pen expert. I don't have to be that. I can ruin a bunch of pens. Actually, in this instance, the chisel would work really well for doing a quick fill. Like I said, these thinner, smaller ones are old. They're some of my first POSCAs. I think I got them in 2015. I used them a lot. I'm impressed that they have lasted as long as they have. Thank you for your service. Also kind of thought some of these markers might die on me tonight because that's how it works, you know? You do something on stream, half the materials die even though they were working fine before the stream. I think the caffeine's kicked in. It only took all day. Or maybe I finally warmed up. No, the whole shirt has cactuses on it. Sorry, I was blowing away a cat hair that was like, no, I'm part of your life now. So obviously your pen should not do this. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture kind of a striation look, the highlight of the leaf as it's turning in space. It doesn't want to play along, so I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just going to work with it. So that, going way back, that's a good point. So different art sites are going to be good for different types of art. So it's really important to find a community that can give you what you're looking for. Like I don't post myself on Wet Canvas, but I really like Wet Canvas. I really like how analytical they are about the materials. I don't always like how rude they can be, but I do appreciate the honesty and I appreciate the attention to detail and how much they care about pigments and how much they care about things performing to a professional quality. Because, like, frankly, I don't care if you're making anime art. I mean, I make anime art. Or if you're drawing, I don't know, like stuff inspired by vaporwave or whatever. Like, whatever you like, you should be able to you have the right to use good art supplies. You have the right to information about your art supplies. You have a right to a fair price. Man, this one it's making me so sad, Joseph. I'm so sad over here. This is gonna take me 5 years to color and it's gonna take 20 years to dry. I'm a little out of practice. Well, like I did Devin's graduation cap and that turned out awesome. Yeah. It's more like I needed to replace a bunch of these, but I didn't know I needed to replace them, and now...
That was my first thought. It's good you're using them because they probably degrade if you don't use them.
Well, I've had them for a while. This green sure is. I'm basically, at this point, making it pool so I can... This is not proper use, by the way. I'm cheap, and I'm trying to get the last bits out of it, and it probably will not cover everything I want it to cover.
Because no other artist is cheap.
Well, you know, it's not like POSCA's sending me these. Oh, did it die? It did! It died!
Did you want it?
No! Does it look like I wanted it to?
No. You have a comparable green?
Is the video misty for anyone else? Joseph, is it misty for you?
I have it set at a very low
What do you mean by misty? That is a... Like the camera is dirty? Or do you mean this thing is misty? Because this thing is always misty. It's running software that's supposed to... I don't know how I'm going to resolve this, by the way. Probably with this. Oh, that's cool, I guess, that the cacti on my shirt remind you of another artist's cacti drawings. I just like the shirt, and it's a tie shirt, like it's like a crop top that's meant to be tied. So I was like, oh, that's cute. And I like I'm wearing a dress, and I like wearing it on top of dresses. So that was my thought process. Just Kara. Well, that's because I don't necessarily share my comic pages that much. Have a frog in my throat? I'm going to after this. You can refill POSCAs? I mean, I'm real hesitant to want to do that because I don't know what's in them, and then it would also maybe cost a lot of money to buy the refill ink unless I'm buying it from POSCA, and that still might be kind of expensive. And I'm preparing to move soon, so I'm also not necessarily looking to acquire a lot of more stuff, but I'll definitely keep that in mind. Okay, I want to use just a little bit of this metallic. So I actually recorded the process when I was doing my brother's mortar for his graduation cap. And it needs a voiceover, but otherwise it's done. It's like recorded, it's basically edited. So I need to get the lead out and finish that up so I have that space available. This is not a POSCA. This is an Artline poster marker. So this is tempera, and it's made by Artline. And I think I got it in like an Art Snacks a million years ago, but I actually really like it. The problem is, well, you know, they might be more available now since this was several years ago and things do change, but they were kind of expensive and kind of annoying to find. Like, you could sort of find them on AliExpress, but boy, did those look like they might be knockoffs of these. And I've been burnt by that, so I don't really play that game anymore.
There aren't too many ways to misspell POSCA.
Yeah, we're not going to be, I would not refill them with acrylic ink. I do have acrylic markers, and I would consider that, but I would not use acrylic in POSCAs because these seem to have a non-plastic, sorry, brain is not working anymore. Acrylics use, like, what is it called, a plasticizer? So it basically makes it rubbery and plastic and more elastic. POSCAs don't have that. So I don't think, and also that's why acrylics, when they dry kind of waterproof and water resistant. Whereas POSCAs have that matte finish. I think they're a liquid tempera. But I don't necessarily, I used to do on this channel, I used to do like a lot of marker rescue stuff and ways to get more out of your art supplies. And, you know, frankly, I just hit the point where I was really unhappy with how they would handle after I'd rescued them. And it just wasn't worth my time to do that. It was honestly easier and cheaper for me to just buy a replacement. So that's the route I'm probably going to take, is I'm probably just going to buy like the whole lineup of POSCAs in this size.
Especially since the green was struggling anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've replaced the red like 3 times. I've replaced the orange twice because I do use them.
Some of that's how much POSCAs cost.
It depends on where you get them from. If you get them open stock at Jerry's, they're like $4 each, which is a little hefty. But if you buy the pack, you can save money there. I'm like half tempted to go get the hair dryer. get the hair dryer and
Move, right?
it could do other funny things like crack because of uneven drying times.
Yeah. Or even cure wrong or something.
Yeah.
In the heat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just not a property I haven't tested for. It's cool that she tried to do that though. Or that she did that. Sorry. It's cool that she experimented and tried that. That sounds really neat. Brain is not working. So what I want to do is I want to finish with the blue and I want to finish with the green, which is really going to take a while to dry. And then I want to go back in and clean things up with the black and then add some more details with the green.
You know if that's a boy or a girl frog.
I don't actually know. That's right. Actually, I need a refill of water because I'm running low. And I filled it right before the stream started. Guess what I can do, because waiting is going to drive me crazy. I can start with the teal, because that's what, I mean, I'm out of the green. The green is just out. Like, it's not, I cannot squeeze any more green out of the green. No, I don't. I have a teal. And it's almost the same color, and I'm just going to try and find a way to make them work together. And it's also a much newer marker. Of course, when this starts getting too thick, it has a tendency to kind of want to scrape it off. I mean, it's almost the same. On top of this yellow, it's almost the same, so I might be able to get away with it. I'm kind of curious about that too, whether the POSCA markers are the same as the Gundam markers. The ones that are used for detailing and for, my brain wants to say fatiguing, but what I really mean is like adding rust and adding weathering. Weathering, that's the word. Make it work. I have not. No, I haven't seen the Tough Like Toon series. Oh, thank you. I know YouTube is a really, there's so many people who have these really cool animation projects that they're doing either themselves on YouTube or they're collaborating with other artists on YouTube, like Has Been Hotel. But I haven't watched too much of those. I don't really know why I haven't.
Let me see that sort of thing on Vimeo.
That could be, well, so, I mean, we do watch that kind of stuff on Vimeo, but Has Been isn't on Vimeo, for example. And there's like another one that people are working on. Knowing how much work animation takes, I'm just so impressed by the dedication these people have. So what do you guys do when somebody says something and you're just not sure what to say in response? Like sometimes it's a positive thing, like, and sometimes it's a negative thing, but like you just don't know how to respond. I find like I feel like I stall out a lot because people will say something and my brain just isn't sure how to respond to that. It takes me a couple of minutes. I do. Well, you know, I'm doing the best I can. How to do workouts to get similar bots to your favorite anime characters. Oh, okay, that's cool. That would be really great for cosplayers. Although I do have to say, a lot of anime body expectations are, especially for women, are completely unrealistic. So while I love the idea of using anime to inspire someone to make up, to make up a positive improvement on their life if that's what they want, to pursue their goals, I am a little bit hesitant considering a lot of those body shapes are not healthy or realistic, or they're based off of teenagers and it's adults trying to emulate that, and that's just not realistic. I don't know, when I used to cosplay, I had a lot of friends who had problems with eating disorders because they were trying to be thin enough to look like the characters. So that was rough. I don't like my coverage, but that's okay. We'll just call it the ugly face and keep working until we like it. Also, some of these are still really wet, so. All right, we'll call that. We'll call that okay for now. The Artist Loft markers, I actually have like 3 reviews of those here on the channel. Yeah, I get that, making a joke. It does it for the ones that are realistic. Look at this thing, it's leaking all over the place.
Looking a little more ravey than leafy.
I know. That's not what I had in mind.
Maybe he licked the toads.
Oh no, he licked himself. Like he licked his arm because he's a poison dart tree frog, so. Now we can see into forever. We're not, absolutely not endorsing that. Please don't do those things. Be safe, kids. Don't do drugs. Have you gotten any of the new ones? The new ones, the new Artist Loft markers, they've actually switched out the nibs for a cheap foam rubber nib, which is my preference of nib. So you may not have as many problems with the fraying with the newer ones. Okay, so when this happens, we have to let that dry, And we are going to cover that up with black. Why are you being so bad? Embarrassing me in front of all my friends. I mean, honestly, the only anime content I really consume on YouTube is Kenny Lauderdale's reviews, and not necessarily reviews, but just introducing the world to lost and forgotten anime. But generally, because I come from, wow, I'm a time traveler. I'm a space alien. I come from a time when being into anime was not socially acceptable, and I've gotten very comfortable for the most part with kind of keeping my interests and preferences personal. And I also am just like never really into what's popular. It doesn't really do it for me. Like One Punch Man, I'm sure it's great, but I've watched a couple episodes and it just wasn't for me, and that's okay. Like, we're allowed to like different things. But I recently started Golden Kamuy and it's amazing, and I wish more people liked it. So I mean, the stuff I like, I've gotten really used to like not being able to talk about it too much because other people are just not into it themselves.
Your anime tastes are also more seasoned than a lot of people because you started anime early.
That's true. I got into anime.
Scott is
Yeah.
new anime.
Well, that doesn't make what he's into.
No. I mean, you liked things like what Scott likes now when you were first getting into anime, right?
Sure. And we also have some in common. I am so mad right now because it seems like all the POSCAs I wanted to use are dying. And it's making it really hard to make something that looks the way I want it to look. I'll say that. I don't want to insult my own art because I know that sets a bad precedence for other people. But I'm struggling with it tonight. I'll ask to repeat what I know before. Wait. Tali, could you please explain that for me, what you just said? I'll ask to repeat before I know what to say if it's oh, you're answering my question. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't... My brain just like completely checked out there. Negative, I won't listen. You know, I think how do I put this? It's not so much about negative or positive. Like when things have like a clear tone, it doesn't bother me. But like, it's when I can't tell where the other person is coming from or what kind of tone they're trying to convey, that my brain just shuts down because it's just like, I don't know how to respond. I think I've been on the internet too long and it's just like completely eaten away at my brain is the truth. I think Twitter's broken me. I think this frog is gonna break me too. It was such a good idea at the time. Too bad all my POSCAs are like wanting to die. Well, I'm not aiming for perfect coverage because I do want like some of that lighter color coming through. I'm just really frustrated that I can't count on these. I mean, I've used them to death. So, you know, it's not really their fault. It's my fault for like, because I knew, like when I started the stream, I was like, watch and see, I bet half my POSCAs are going to die on me. So like I knew in my gut that it was time to replace them. But it's expensive to replace or refill a bunch of POSCAs at one time. So I wanted to get as much use out of them as possible. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not like dissing that. It's just on stream is not really my favorite time for that to happen.
Yeah, because you can't just set it down and come
Exactly, which is what I did with my brother's graduation cap, because I was recording it and editing it afterwards. I had like 3 markers die, and we could just go to Jerry's Artorama and it scraped up the paint, y'all. I could just buy them open stock. I'm gonna avoid that area. It's a danger zone.
Put some fixative or something on it?
No, because it's wet. That's the problem.
Oh.
And fixative is just gonna make it more, fixative on something that's not dry creates a bunch of problems.
I'm not looking at the screen right now.
That's fine. They're talking about who would win, Goku versus Sailor Moon. I think they'd be friends, frankly. They both like to eat. They both are kind of goofy and silly. I think they also love their friends and love the world. So I think they would just join forces. Yeah, that's my head.
Does everyone rely on Sailor Moon like they rely on Goku?
Except Goku's such a flake. They all end up relying on Piccolo.
Well, Goku relies on Piccolo.
Oh, I do not like this leaf, like, at all. Gonna make it work. Gonna make it work. Gonna work at it until it looks the way I want it to look. But I don't like it right now.
The slogan of your channel.
Make it work.
Madison, you're gonna make it work.
I mean, like, that's about right. Natto Soup working through the ugly phase of art since 1996. It's mostly because it's so scratchy. Like, it makes it look like I just didn't care.
Embrace it.
Embrace the suck. Ooh, talking about animes. I like Agretzko as well. I can, on a soul level, identify with the frustration and the rage that she goes through. Might be different circumstances, but biting back on rage is a very similar problem. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna be okay with this leaf. Don't have to like everything we do. We're just gonna be okay with this leaf. We're gonna move on now to the shadow under the frog, and my lavalier mic keeps getting caught under my chair. So the blue wants to die. I wanted to do blue as a shadow on the leaf because when you're doing foliage, blue is an excellent shadow color on greens because it still keeps its liveliness. Joseph. I mean, I do need to replace a bunch of them, but there's nothing for it until after COVID ends, possibly. That's a shame. I was really excited about this idea. I really like poison dart tree frogs. I really wanted to do this. I was pumped for it. So I'm kind of bummed because the way I saw it in my head was it was really good. And I'm going to have to like save up money via Patreon and replace a bunch of my POSCAs so I can go back and do those other frog videos and like do them justice. I wish I could show you guys some of the stuff I've done with POSCAs too, because this is so sad for me. It's so not representative of what I can do with them. That's okay. I just need to like laugh at myself and get over it. Oh, are y'all talking about the blue song? I'm blue, I'm a D, I'm a da. If I were green, I would die. I'm a D, I'm a da. That was in the 90s. If I get content ID'd for singing that song, I will just have to laugh. 'Cause that would be one of the most ridiculous things. But I wouldn't put it past Sony Music. I'm blue. I don't actually know if Sony owns the rights. I'm just guessing right here. That frog is being very patient. And I am getting very frustrated with the frog. Not the frog. The frog's a good boy. I'm getting frustrated with...
Figured out its gender.
I don't know. It's a frog. It doesn't care. It's a frog. It's like, I'm a frog. What do you want from me? It's like a boat. He's a gravy. He doesn't care. As long as he gets neutral and Tomcats, he's good. He's good. I keep making like the super weird drawing face too, where I'm like, trying to see what I'm doing. I could, yes. I'm not going to do that because my blue is also running out. And because I don't know that I'd get the same green, and I'd have to pump so much yellow and blue just to try and get enough, that would just basically destroy the rest of those colors. But that's a good idea. It's just not going to work for me tonight. And I'm just going to give up on the leaf. I'm going to take the approach that not everything has to work out for me all the time. I mean, no, it's not cheating. You're still using POSCAs. It's just a different way of using them. It's just more mess and more effort than I want to put into it at this point. So what I'm going to start doing is I've got this gray marker, and I'm just going to start using this to kind of mark in the some of the highlights. Like, I guess the mid-tone highlights. It is a really good idea, though. And I could leave the back, can I talk? I could leave the black of the paper. I am not going to do that because there are some areas where I sketched in, and I want to be able to cover that a little bit better. Yeah, honestly, I'm just kind of sick of the leaf. So I'm just gonna make peace with it and walk away. Also, like, having some ooh, bless you, having some chisel tip or some of the larger POSCAs to cover a large area like that would be really helpful. Or just going in with like gouache.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of a shame because you can't really do a whole lot of mixed media with that. Like you would be able, if you'd messed up a watercolor painting or something, you could potentially put POSCA on top of it. But it's not like you can put watercolor on top of POSCA.
You might be able to. I've never tried it. I would, I don't know how I'd feel about trying it.
I think that frog needs some gold leaf.
I think I need a treat after this stream. This frog has stressed me out. And I love frogs, and it's a very cute frog in the photo, and I will just have to replenish my POSCA stock later on and come back to it with a clear head and maybe fewer distractions and just try again. I hate that leaf so much. Sorry, I do. It's like super not what I wanted. So I'm having a hard... Huh?
It's a rave leaf.
It's not a good leaf for sure. I could have... Man, whatever. I'm like starting the... I could have. It's like, you know what? No. Go sit in the punishment chair. They're just all leaking. So, you know, they say it's a poor artist who blames their tools. I don't agree with that, but I also...
I think they literally mean poor as in don't have any...
Yeah, right? An artist who cannot afford to replace their tools. It's usually used to disparage people who... I know you're joking. I don't like that term.
Funny thought, though.
Yeah, literally broke.
Said it, but literally have no money.
Can't afford to replace these expensive things. Yeah. Oh boy, my phone holder is exactly where I need to hit OK. No, don't press. There we go. That's happy accidents. Sure, Bob Ross. Have you ever noticed he paints like a million of the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over again? With repetition comes confidence. I might eat this frog into the sun now. Who should go into the sun first, me or the frog? I still have some Ben & Jerry's, Cherry Garcia in my freezer. I'm gonna have some Cherry Garcia. When I finish this frog, I'm sorry, frog. I've let you down. You are not as pretty as I wanted.
You think Sony would take that frog to the prom?
No, I don't know, maybe. Yep, that's it. Cherry Garcia. I'm gonna try and also use this to like I don't know, propel me to make better art, if you know, like it's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay to like make things you don't like. Not everything has to be the best art ever, because if everything was always the best art, you would not learn as much, because we learn from mistakes. So, you know, I learned that I need to not be cheap, and I need to replace a bunch of my POSCA markers, which I'd been putting off. Oh, Gesundheit. That sounds like a very healthy treat. I like mine straight, full of garbage. But I also don't have ice cream too often, so. Oh man, me and you, Frog, me and you. Goofing together.
The frog itself doesn't look that bad.
He's coming along. It's the leaf that's just like sad, 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 sad.
Actually upsets you. You can always go on top of it again, right? When you have more markers.
Yeah, well, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to redo the piece, because I already want to do the other frogs anyway, so. What bothers me about it is that it is not, I know it's not the best I can do, and I would like to fix it, but because I am running out of those materials, I can't fix it. So that's where I'm coming from. Like, I was raised to just always do my best. So like part of the frustration is like, I know how to fix it, I just can't. But then it makes it not art for relaxation anymore. It makes it art to be stressed out over, and that is not that's not the jam of these Saturday nights. It does look like Ray Frog though. Frog is ready for party. Frog wouldn't go to prom. Frog would go to a party. You know, Calvin, all of your nature paintings have really made me want to get my butt in gear and do more landscape studies and get better at that. Especially like how much progress you've been making. I'm definitely a little envious is when you would like it for yourself, but you wouldn't take it away from someone else, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. It makes me a little envious, which is good because I need to get my butt in gear. Like, I was just thinking about that earlier today and how good your landscapes have been looking, and how if I just sat down and did like 30-minute studies, I could improve a little bit. Just put in that time in. At least the frog's looking better. to an extent, being able to be critical of your art is important because it allows you to see the areas you want to improve on in the future so you can actually take those steps. You need a certain amount of like, I'm dissatisfied with this, but I'm still powered up and I still like the idea. I want to do it again, but do it better and take what I learned and apply it, right? You need a certain amount of that. It's just really important to not start going into the negative self-talk, the, oh, I'm just a fraud, I'm a garbage artist, stuff like that, because then you get discouraged and you don't have that energy to go in and redo it or fix it. You just don't want to try at all. Well, I mean, so much of what I say often gets misconstrued and then repeated to people out of context, so I try to be very careful about it so that when it does get repeated to other people, I can show them the video and it's actually what I mean. So I have been trying to be careful about that because I am not looking to make any enemies. Only friends. This is a friend zone. Let's see if we can do something about this leaf. Let's see if we can make... You know, I don't know what I'll be able to do. Oh, that's a chisel. See, that's a chisel tip. Maybe I can... Nope, it'll scrape it. Also, I would not, and I mean this, I would never try to take away ability, technique from another artist. Just because I want to be able to do those things doesn't mean I would ever. See, I'm getting some cracking over here. Remember when it like leaked and it kind of puddled? Well, y'all probably can't see it, but I can see it.